I have a serious question for those over at DC. Just DC in particular, nothing, related to Warner Brothers or anything like that. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but DC, I needs to know what in the hell do y'all got going on over there for you to come up with a concept such as this. So y'all can already see in the picture by what I have on my screen what it is I'm about to talk about. And for those of you who are unaware, we're about to go into it. So some creator, I don't even have the patience to even look this person up to see who came up with this concept, where they created a comic about the Joker. I forgot what the name of the comic was. I know it had the word laughing in there somewhere. And in the comic, the Joker is pregnant, as you can see, and gives birth to basically a clone of himself. And when I first saw this, I said, oh my God, what are they doing? First, they had the thing last year. No, not last year. The year before last, I think it was, where they made Robin. I think it was Robin or one of the Robins part of the Academy, where he had a relationship with one of the other characters in that comic. And I was like, here they go. And fast forward to now, you have this. You're taking one of the most beloved villains, and not just in DC, but one of the most beloved villains of all time in comic book history, and doing this to him. Why? What was the point? And when I read a little bit more into it and how I even got to this point, apparently it's a story where he and Harley Quinn got into some kind of issue, and she cast some kind of spell where she ended up making the Joker become pregnant. So I said, you found a way to make Harley Quinn cuck the Joker in some way, form, or fashion. Are you trying to say that this is her get back for all the years that the Joker abused her? If you looked at the comics or looked at the animated series back in the 90s, which is like held up in regard as one of my favorite cartoons of all time, he basically stayed abusing Harley. Like, he would like hit her, he would yell at her, like he was like it was a domestic violent relationship. But because she was so enamored with him, she always stayed with him. She always stuck around because she did play her part every now and then. But he didn't like the fact that she was always so clingy, so to speak. But she apparently in this comic cast some kind of spell to make him pregnant, and then he gave birth. It's another image. I'm not going to show it because I don't know how that will look on YouTube. But basically, I'll describe it. The other image is where you have this person right here. I think it's this person. I'm not sure. Literally is pulling up the robe or whatever the Joker has on, and underneath the robe, like a doctor, and pulling the baby out as he's pushing the child out of his. My thing is, where in the world was he pushing this child out of? Because, science says that you have to have a womb, you have to have a vagina in order to have a baby, fallopian tubes, all of that good stuff, in order to have a baby, in which the Joker has none of those. So did the spell that she cast give him those parts as well? And when I see this image, what it also reminds me of? Remember when Lil Nas X had took that picture for, I don't know if it was an album cover or a photo shoot. I think it was a photo shoot where he was quote unquote had this suit on or this body thing on where he looked pregnant. It looks like this right here. It looks just like this image right here. But you know what this also says to me too? It goes back to that narrative that Hall T has been trying to put out there for so long, that men can get pregnant. If y'all remember, I did a couple of videos on my channel in the past. None recently though. Where you had some people who were naturally born a woman and they transition into a quote unquote man, making them a trans man. And they got pregnant by the man who is in a relationship, who of course still lives as a man. And they get pregnant, and then they say, oh my God, men can get pregnant. And in one of those stories, they took it a step further and tried to say, they got mad at the nurses because on the documents they put down birth mother or mother or something like that. And they got upset because they wanted them to put down birth father or something like that. But the nurse was like, no, because men cannot give birth. Women can. We don't care if you went and got this operation done or took these hormones to, lower your voice, grow some stubble on your face or whatever the case may be. You have the female parts to have a baby and to push a baby out of you. And I remember they had got so upset about that and people just kind of like laughed it off and just kept it going. But I said, keep watching because they're going to really ramp it up. And I think I did that story at the end of 2021. I remember it was in December of 2021 when I did that video. And I think they were overseas when that happened. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, oh my God. And now, as you can see, it's transitioning over into pop culture via this. And it's been other iterations where they've slipped it in there. Somehow they've found a way to weasel their way in there somehow, some way. But what I find to be even more crazy is that this, what you're seeing, got greenlit on DC Comics side. This is what got greenlit. But this is what got shelved. Again, what you just saw in the previous picture got greenlit to be put out there, for consumption. But this got shelved and will never be seen. In case you don't know what this is, this was the Batgirl movie that they made that I believe was going to be put on HBO Max. I'm not sure if it was going to have a theatrical release. Someone down in the comments can let me know. But they made the movie. I believe it was like on a $90 million budget, which is considered small for a superhero film. And they had already pretty much been done. And then they just automatically said, okay, the movie's never going to see the light of day. We're going to shelve it. And it was at the time when DC was going through their little transition period, like they were transitioning into like Warner Brothers Discovery and whatnot. And I believe that they used this to pay off some debts. So really, it was a tax write-off. They made that whole movie for nothing. Well, not so much nothing for the people who made it, but something for those over at Warner Brothers Discovery to get them out of debt. And to my knowledge, I think they might still be in some of that debt. So even that $90 million wasn't even enough to cover it. But they shelved this. And I'm going to be honest. They kept saying that, oh, the movie was bad. It didn't screen well and this, that, and the third. But some part of me wishes that they still would have released it because I would have wanted to be the judge of it myself to see if the rumors were true. But let's be real here. One of the major reasons they had an issue from this movie from jump, even before they shot one scene, was because of the actress that they chose to play Batgirl. Now, we all know that Batgirl, or Barbara Gordon, because Barbara Gordon is Batgirl, has always been traditionally a white, blue-eyed, red-headed woman. But the actress who they got to play Batgirl in this movie is a Afro-Latina woman named Leslie Grace. That was one of their major issues that they had. If you look through a lot of those blogs or some of the comments people were saying, that it came back to that. Am I shocked or surprised? No, I am not. So maybe in a way, I don't know. Could this be a little bit of karma? I'm not entirely sure. Now, granted, the movies are separate from their comics division, but they're all under the same umbrella. So you let a pregnant Joker slide, even if they, and the crazy part about it is you have people trying to make sense of it. There's no way you can. But they were mad at this. Again, I don't know how this movie would have played out. I wish I could have seen it to see, judge for myself. Because they keep saying, oh, this movie was horrible. This movie was terrible. I'm like, too many people are saying this, but no one has seen it as far as the public consumption goes. We're taking the words of execs. A lot of them tend to lie. A lot. So, yeah. But this is where we at, y'all. This is where we are at. When we talk about agendas being pushed, refer to the previous picture that I just had up on my screen. That is exactly what we are talking about. And they said that this was an agenda. You already know that people, when they found out this woman was playing Batgirl, they said, the word woke was used probably a million times. because how dare they replace our beloved white queen with this brown whatever. Because they had the same issue when they had a black Batwoman. You know, the Batwoman show that was on the CW, because originally Batwoman was played by Ruby Rose, like for that first season, and then they brought in that black woman to play her for the remainder of the show's run. They were upset about that because, again, historically that Batwoman was a white woman, and they got mad because she got recasted as a black woman. And I'm actually shocked, considering all the hate that it got, that the show stayed on for the amount of time it did before it got canceled. But then again, they started to scrap a lot of that stuff over at the CW. The Flash is about to finally have its last season. And after that, I don't know what they gonna do. But again, they let a pregnant Joker slide. Let that be out there. But this got shelved because, according to the execs or the people up the higher ups, it was bad. But we'll never know. That movie could have been a good movie. But because they said it was bad, now you have a lot of people that said it was bad too. I'm like, I'm not sure how y'all gonna say that, and y'all didn't even see it. Like, unless there's a leak somewhere. As a matter of fact, they didn't want this movie out so bad that the directors of this movie, which, by the way, in case you didn't know, the directors of this movie were the directors for Bad Boys for Life. So that's why I was kind of like, how bad is this movie? Because Bad Boys for Life was actually pretty damn good. For those of y'all who didn't see it, it was pretty good. And I think the directors of Bad Boys for Life also directed the Miss Marvel show on Disney Plus. So I was curious to see, how bad was this movie, if it was even bad at all. Because like I said, Bad Boys for Life was a good movie, especially since it's a movie that should have been released in the summertime, but it was released in January, but did pretty good. And it was one of the only movies that came out that year in 2020, because you know what happened in March. So that movie could have either sank or swim, but good thing it swam its way to a victory, to the point where I think they're probably going to most likely make a fourth Bad Boys film. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video right here. I can't wait to see what y'all have to say about this down in the comments. Also, as well in the chat, considering it's a premiere style video.